With the price tag of just 130 US dollar, you're gonna get a lot of stuff from this Tanchjim Fission. First and foremost, the build construction of the IEM itself is just quite premium, comparable to Tanchjim IEMs, which are priced over 200 US dollar, entirely made of metal, which is kind of a bit on the heavier side. I have placed it on my scale and it weighs at least 6 grams each side. So when it comes to wear factor, if you're familiar with Tanchjim plastic IEM, then you're gonna feel the weight of this. But the good thing is that the ergonomic is very well designed. So comfort is, of course, excellent. I was able to wear it like this for the last 3 hours, no problem at all. And just like many other metal type IEM, it does not seal really well. So meaning to say that I am hearing quite a lot of ambient noise seeping in as I'm walking right now. And only when the music starts to play, then I would be able to get some sort of, let's say, seal, because you're gonna have to play it a bit louder as opposed to, let's say, some other resin type IEM, which seals really well. And then the best part, it is also modular, end to end, starting with the cable itself here, which comes, by the way, with 3 types of connectors, which is 4.4 mm balance, 3.5 mm single-ended, and the most interesting, it also comes with a L-shaped dongle, which you can actually use to control DSP. Yes, this is also a traditional type IEM and also DSP IEM. And you can just simply scan the code, which is attached inside the box, to download Tanchjim app, which will then allow you to change the DSP profile, which is some sort of an EQ. And I find it very useful, especially if you like to tweak the sound of your IEM. And of course, perhaps the most important improvement which Tanchjim Fission has brought over the predecessor like Tanchjim 4U or even Tanchjim Bunny is that you can also swap the nozzle, at which you are given 3 types, and I will talk a bit more about it after this. Tanchjim is very well known for using DMT type of single dynamic driver. So this is definitely not the first one. We have already seen the usage of DMT drivers anywhere from Tanchjim 0 all the way to Tanchjim Origin, and now we have here Fission utilizing the latest generation, which is the 5th generation of DMT single dynamic driver. This one literally uses the very same one which is being used by Tanchjim Origin. So we are talking about premium drivers. One thing that I know about this DMT driver, they're kind of a bit thicker with the membrane itself, which means that it would require quite a bit of a burn-in before it settles down. So in my case here, I have already done 100 hours of burn-in into this Fission here, with the impedance rating of just 16 ohm. So you can expect this Fission here to be very easy to drive. And true indeed, when I use it directly with my phone, which is Xiaomi Mi 90, I was able to get proper headroom at just around 50% of the volume. But the best part is that it is also highly scalable. I think this is one of the key benefits of using thicker membrane drivers like DMT, because it scales like a magnetic planar. So which means that, let's say if I attach 4.4 mm balance here and use a powerful dongle like this Hartfield R1 here, or even this Venture Electronic Devastator here, which is 2 VRMS, I am hearing improvement in sound authority, dynamics and everything. It performs much better with more power. And of course, even when used with this dongle here, which is Tanchjim very own dongle, it is also already quite scalable. I am hearing the kind of sound which I would consider as already 100% when used with this particular dongle here. Tanchjim Fission offers 12 different kind of sound, 12 tuning possibility, making it the most versatile and flexible IEM from Tanchjim so far. I can't remember any other Tanchjim IEM which I have tried before being that flexible. So let's just start with some of the tuning options, some of the tuning possibilities which I have tried so far. Starting, of course, with the tunable switch here, which is pretty much very similar, first seen on Tanchjim 4U, and it even retains the same kind of tuning characteristic, which means that you gonna have that default one which is pointing to the IEM itself, and then we have another tab which is called popular, and we have another one which is called natural, and another one called monitoring. So let's just quickly go through that, some of the experiences which I have tried so far. I just gonna openly admit that at the end of the day, I opted to use the default, because when I switched to, let's say, the popular one, which is the one at the top here, it sounded kind of a bit too colored in the upper frequency or even in the lower frequency. The boosting is quite prominent to a point that I feel that it is a combination of a bit of, let's say, pushing it a bit too bright or even too bassy and not enough mid-range. And pushing it to natural, then it is toned down to become a bit flatter now. It is a bit more, let's say, less colored, a bit more, let's say, balanced throughout the entire frequency range. So you're going to get mid-bass, sub-bass, mid-range, upper frequency, all sounding literally flatter. But it gets even flatter for whatever reason it is. If you need accuracy and transparency without any hint of coloration at all, then this is where you switch to monitoring mode. And this is where it is kind of a bit very specific. This is the kind of sound profile which is applicable to people who are familiar with sound profile from Atmos ER4 series, for example, because it is truly transparent, and I mean flat transparent. So it might not be appealing at all to many people, including myself, because for the most part, I prefer to use this Tanchjim Fission as something which I would consider as for enjoyment. But it is good to know that this Fission is entirely capable of doing professional kind of work for monitoring and for mixing purposes. And of course, this modular tuning nozzle comes in 3 different flavors, namely the brass, which is the gold color, and of course titanium and also steel, which is very hard to distinguish between the two of them, but at least there's a marking on them. So let's just talk about the tuning nozzle itself. After playing with all these 3, back and forth, I have opted to settle down with the brass, which is the gold colored nozzle. And the reason for that is that because I do feel that it offers a bit more of musicality rather than technicality. It is the smoothest sounding out of all 3 of them and does not sound sharp, does not sound bright at all. It is in fact the most organic sounding coming from Tanchjim Fission with the gold brass nozzle. When I switched to the steel nozzle, which is the default one by the way, it sounded flat. It is kind of a bit, let's say, designed to be linearly equal throughout the entire frequency range, from the mid-range, from the bass, from the upper frequency, no boosting or anything like that. It just sounded flat. And it gets even brighter once I switch to titanium. So because the titanium nozzle has been designed for treble head, it emphasizes a bit more on the sparkle, the energy, and the kind of like the macro detail of the upper frequency. And to me, with my current taste and preference, I find it a bit too analytical or clinical for my taste. So I switched to gold nozzle. Third tuning option, which is no less important, the ear tip. In fact, that one will determine a lot also on the sound profile of this Fission. If you're familiar with Tanchjim, then you would know that Tanchjim always offer 2 types of silicone ear tip, the narrow bore and also the wide bore. And due to the shift of my taste and preference for the last 2 years, I always prefer something which is not bright, something which is a bit more dampened, something which is a bit more smoother. Okay, so at the end of the day, after trying out both of them, and in fact this is already something which I am very well aware of, I opted for the narrow bore ear tip because it does not release that too much of the upper frequency. It still retains that sparkle and energy of the upper frequency, but it also kind of like, boosts up the lower frequency and the mid-range to a point that it becomes a bit more musical. But if you ever need to have a bit more of, let's say, transparency, a bit more of neutrality, a bit more of, let's say, sparkle, energy, and details, micro detail extension in the upper frequency, then you would probably like the wide bore. Last but not least, but I think equally important as well. You see, this Tanchjim Fission comes with this silver-plated cable here, which is very nice, by the way. I love it. It has this very long pins here, which means that it is kind of a bit difficult to lose it. But SPC being SPC, of course, it offers certain characteristic to the sound itself. It is kind of a bit, let's say, always sounding technical, kind of a bit bright, kind of a bit sharp, if you ask me, especially if you switch to the combination of using wide bore and also switch to monitoring mode. It just sounded kind of a bit, let's say, too technical for my taste. Just like any other very well tuned IEM, when I switch to copper cable, something like this Venture Electronic Vita standard here, or even this Effect Audio RS Mark II, With the combination of these two copper cable, then what I'm getting from this Fission is even more improvement in the timbre area. A bit more of, let's say, addition to the body of the sound itself. It sounds richer now. It sounds denser. It focuses a bit more on being musical rather than technical, less analytical. And that is the kind of sound which I prefer if I want to enjoy my music. So let's just quickly round it up. How does it sound exactly once you have found the tuning that you like? Because remember, being so flexible, it is kind of a bit difficult to pin down exactly which one might be appealing to person A or person B, because I may like my Fission tuned this way with this nozzle, with this ear tip and everything, but if I were to give it to another person, they might not like it. So the key thing here is that being super flexible. You can tune it to be very technical, bright, flat, neutral, transparent, no problem at all, no coloration, or you can tune it to be kind of a bit exciting with strong V sound curve flavoring, or even you can tune it to be more musical by just simply playing with the option. Just remember this, you have the tuning nozzle, you have the switches, you have the ear tip, and also last but not least, very important, you have the DSP module should you wish to use the dongle here. That is crazily flexible for something which is priced for $130. And let's not forget, the kind of build quality offered by this Fission is pretty much on par to Tanchjim Origin, which is way priced above $200. It is without a doubt, for 2025 so far, Tanchjim Fission is probably the best when it comes to delivering value for the price that you pay. Like I mentioned earlier, it is highly tunable, highly flexible, and let's not forget the build quality, which is comparable to Tanchjim Origin. On top of it, it is just so versatile. I am repeating myself over and over again. With that versatility, it comes with so many options. It is like paying for one price for one IEM, but you get 12 different IEM. Now, tell me if that is not impressive. But wait. Before I end this video, I almost forgot, and I should mention this. One of the craziest thing about this Tanchjim Fission here, you see this dongle, which is included with the IEM itself, which I mentioned earlier, the one that I recommend to be used with this Fission. Another crazy thing about this dongle is that it is fully capable of playing DSD 512 1 bit, which is in DSF native mode. I repeat, DSF native mode without any kind of conversion to DOP or PCM. This is insane. Attached to my phone like this, running HiFiGo music app in USB exclusive mode. I set the DSD to native and I was so surprised, freakishly surprised that it can play this particular song which is in 1 bit, DSD 512. So that is crazily impressive, right? Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end. Without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of AndyAV. And also, if you'd like to support me directly, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene.